Hello, I'm the awesome Tutor, and today we're going to be looking at factors influencing exchange rates, floating exchange rates. So exchange rates that the value of the currency is determined by supply and demand. Okay, if you don't know what floating exchange rates are, watch my previous video. So let's look at factors influencing the demand of exchange rates. In fact, first of all, let's look at the diagram that I need to draw. The quantity of the currency and the price of the currency, let's say the dollar. Okay? So, we have demand, we have supply. Demand shifts upward, the price of the dollar is going to increase, it's going to appreciate. If demand decreases, the price of the dollar will decrease, it's going to depreciate. Okay? Let's look here. If the demand for your exports, so let's say that we're the US, to make things simple, and our currency is the dollar. If the demand for our exports increases, then the demand for the dollar will also increase. Why? Okay, so say we're the US, we're exporting this pen to the UK. Okay? Here you go, pay up. Alright, let me see. £3, there you go. I don't want your filthy pounds. You think pounds are going to work in the US? Our currency is the US dollar. You're going to have to pay me in dollars. Okay, then looks like I'm going to need to go to the foreign exchange market and get me some dollars. Exchange my pounds for dollars. Here you go. Thank you. So what happened there? What happened is, because a country is selling their exports, they're going to want to be paid in their currency. Not anyone else's currency, their currency. So, if countries are going to buy your exports, they're going to need your currency. So they're going to need to go to the foreign exchange market and exchange their currency for yours. So the demand for your currency will increase. Alright? They want this pen, they're going to need the dollar. So if the demand for this pen increases, then the demand for the dollar will increase because they need the dollar to buy this pen. Understand? So what happens here? Demand increases. The price of the dollar goes up from P to P1. It appreciates. Okay? And the reverse is the same. If the demand for exports goes down, the demand for the dollar goes down and the dollar depreciates. Okay? Okay, so relative interest rates. So, again, we're the US. Here's the bank. And interest rates in the bank go up relative to other countries. Okay? So if interest rates go up, what does that mean? That means you get a higher return on your savings. So if it's a US bank, you can only save in US banks in which currency? In the dollar. So other countries, so let's say the UK, let's say we have some UK investors or speculators, they have pounds. They want to save their money in US banks now because interest rates in US banks have gone up relative to interest rates in UK banks. That means they're going to get a higher return on their savings in US banks in comparison to UK banks. So they're going to need to exchange their pound for dollars. And that means that the demand for the dollar will increase. Okay? So here's me just putting the dollars inside the bank, and then I'm going to get a higher return on my savings. Okay? So demand for the dollar increases, as I showed you with the previous diagram. You know how it works. Demand shifts right. Sorry for the messy diagram. and the dollar appreciates in value. Okay? That's only if relative interest rates go up. If relative interest rates go down, then it doesn't affect demand, it affects supply. I'll go on to that later. Inwards investment, so foreign direct investment. Oh, by the way, just one thing. With the money moving to banks where they're going to get higher returns because of higher interest rates, that money is called hot money. You may have heard that term before. So it's hot money flows. Interest rates go up, more hot money flows, so the demand for that currency is going to increase. Okay? Hot money. It's a good term to use in your essays. Inwards investment, so foreign direct investment. We're still the US. Let's say a UK firm wants to set up operations here in the US. So they're going to need to put inwards capital investment into the US. Now, if they're going to operate in the US, what currency are they going to need? They can't operate in pounds, they can only operate in the currency of that country. So they're going to need dollars. They need dollars. Give me them dollars. Okay? They need dollars, so the demand for the dollar increases as inwards investment increases. Okay? Demand for the dollar goes up. The dollar appreciates in value. Okay? Let's look at supply. Okay, so let's look at this from the point of view of the UK. So we're going to look at pounds, because using the same scenarios as we used for the demand for the US dollar, those same scenarios are going to affect the supply of the UK pound. Okay, so it's like the flip side of it. So factors that affect the supply of the exchange rate is demand for imports. So demand for imports, supply. Exports, demand. Okay? Always think about that. Now, I'm not an expert economist. I'm not sure why it's imports that affect supply and not demand, and it's exports that affect demand and not supply of the currency. But just memorize it this way for your exam. Imports, supply of the currency. Exports, that affects the demand of the currency. Okay? Just memorize it. It's not that hard. So, demand for imports. So we're the UK. This pen is being exported to us. We can't pay in pounds, we can only pay in dollars, because it's a US export coming to us, and it's now an import for us. It's being imported into our country, so we need to exchange our pounds for the dollar in order to buy it. So what happens is, we go to the foreign exchange market, we exchange some of our pounds for dollars. So what we do is we release the pound onto the foreign exchange market, increasing the supply of the pound on the foreign exchange market in order to get our dollars in return. Okay? So if we exchange our currency for another, we increase the supply of our currency on the foreign exchange market. Okay, so what that does is it increases supply if the demand for imports goes up, and the exchange rate depreciates. Okay? If the demand for imports decreases, so no, we don't want your filthy pens, we don't want them, alright? There's not going to be as much pounds on the foreign exchange market because we're not exchanging them for dollars. Okay, so the supply of the currency on the foreign exchange market decreases if the demand for imports decreases. Okay, So recap, demand for imports goes up. We need to exchange the pound for the dollar in order to buy the import. So we're releasing pounds onto the foreign exchange market, increasing the supply of the pound on the foreign exchange market, depreciating the pound. Demand for imports goes down, it's the opposite effect. Supply decreases, shifting left, and the pound appreciates. Okay? Relative interest rates. So here we have a UK bank and we have a US bank. Okay? Again, we're looking at this from the point of view of the UK, using the same scenarios that we used when looking at the demand of the currency for the US. So, relative interest rates in the US increase in comparison to our interest rate in the UK. So what happens to our relative interest rate is it decreases. So what speculators do, what investors do, they want to make a profit. So they go to where they're going to get more return on their savings. So I don't want to save my pounds in the UK anymore. I want to save them where I'm going to get more return on my savings. So I go to the foreign exchange market, I exchange my pounds for dollars, releasing the pounds onto the foreign exchange market, and then I have my dollars here in the US bank. And what I've done here is I've increased the supply of the pound in the foreign exchange market. So what happens? Supply shifts right, and what that does is it depreciates the value of the pound. Now let's look at net outward investment. So with net outward investment, as we looked at in the scenario for the US dollar where there was net inward investment with the US from the UK, let's look at this from the point of view of the UK. So for us, it's net outward investment outside of the country. So it's FDI flows outside of the country. So if I own a firm in the UK, I want to set up operations here in the US, I'm going to need to invest abroad. So it's going to be net outward investment. But I can't operate in the US with pounds. I can only operate there with dollars. So what I do is I go to the foreign exchange market, I exchange my pound for dollars, and what that does to the pound is it increases the supply of the pound on the foreign exchange market. So supply increases and it depreciates. Okay? If we look at this from the point of view of the US, I'm demanding the dollar. So, in the previous scenario, when we looked at the value of the US dollar, the dollar is going to appreciate because I'm demanding dollars. At the same time, I'm releasing pounds onto the foreign exchange market. So supply of the pound increases, pound depreciates, but demand for the dollar increases, so the dollar appreciates. Okay? I hope that you understand that. I tried to explain it as simply as possible. I'll do another video looking at factors influencing exchange rates, but in terms of answering an essay question. And I'm going to give you some good application points, and it's going to be a boom answer. Okay? Not this generic textbook answer. Okay? It's going to be really good. So, this has been the Awesome Tutor. Bye.